Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions. Welcome to Women We Should Know. Welcome back to Women We Should Know, the podcast where we consistently bring you the voices, the brilliance, the wisdom, and the audacity of women who don't color inside the lines, who will not climb into boxes made by someone else, who are carving new pathways. And the most beautiful thing about the pathways they are carving is that they are leaving a light on for the rest of us to see and to follow if we choose. It is always my honor to speak with these wonderful women and equally to bring their voices, their messages to each of you. Today we have Anita Sanchez Ph.D., Nawa, which is Aztec, and Mexican-American. I can say Nawa, but I can't say American. Must be a Monday morning. Anita is CEO and founder, Sanchez Tennis and Associates, LLC. Their focus is to heal the world and her peoples through diversity, inclusion, belonging, and culture change. Dr. Sanchez is a consultant and trainer, speaker to Fortune 500 companies, education and nonprofit organizations. She bridges indigenous wisdom and science for individual to societal renewal, focusing on diversity, equity, inclusion, and cultural transformation. She is a board member of the Pachamama Alliance and Pioneers, and is a member of the Evolutionary Leaders and Transformational Leadership Council. Author of 7 books, including international award-winning The 4 Sacred Gifts, Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Times. She teaches how to bring wisdom to all of life. Other awards that she has received, just so that we can sing her praises a little bit more, is the 2022 Mogul's Top 100 DEI Leaders, 2020 Conscious Company Media World Changing Woman, and 2020 World Women's Foundation Woman of the Hour, and hashtag She Is My Hero campaign to inspire 1 million girls to live their dreams and leadership. Anita leads an annual Pachamama Alliance journey into the sacred headwaters of the Amazon each year. Her next journey is June 2023. I read that and just went a little bit wild. I thought, wonder how I get on that list. So I am
You're always welcome.
Thank you. I am so honored to have you with us, Anita.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. It's a good start to a Monday morning.
It is a good start to a Monday morning, particularly since I'm going to make all of you out there jealous, particularly since you helped me to get grounded and present with that beautiful blessing and chant before we became ready to move forward.
You're most welcome. Yeah.
So much to speak about. I would like to start with what you call the reemergence of belonging.
Yes, I think that's I don't think, but I'm watching, we're all part of it, of human beings remembering who they are. And may not be fast enough for some of us, but the remembering that we're not separate. In the mainstream, we've been taught so much about, especially here in the United States, about individuality, competing, power over, do it alone, pull yourself up, all those kinds of things. And the belonging is to understand, especially as we have so much happening right now, both opportunities, but a lot of challenges, is that it's time to remember that we do nothing alone. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And so this reemergence of belonging, of understanding it's not, oh, you over there and me here. The pandemic certainly taught us that. Halfway around the world, we're all impacted. But also just even you and I here breathing, we're not doing that on our own. I'm just so grateful. I can see out my windows, and I know you're in a beautiful mountains in New Mexico. I'm in the north of you in the Rockies in Colorado. And I look at these trees and I say, thank you, plant relatives, for taking my carbon and transforming it into oxygen so that I can breathe. And when we start changing our mind about, hey, wait a minute, there are a lot of both people who've supported me along the way and dreamt me into being, as well who is providing life now. And so that belonging really helps in order to be able to be present to what really is, both the challenges, but also all the beautiful abundance that we're a part of. And then together we can also, dream in what will be life-giving rather than divisive.
Right. How would you invite our listeners to understand that in a way that they can begin to be that and feel that and hear that and taste that in their life?
Yeah. I think there are a couple of things that they can do. First, check out your assumptions. And that sounds funny, but we behave out of the stories and the narratives that we have. And like I said, so many people have, well, I'm alone. I don't really have a culture. I live really far away from my family on all these, but it's like, no, really look at who you are and what you are. And as I grew up, what we were taught always is that we're part of this one hoop of life. And you can see I'm putting my hands in a circle, not up and down, but a flat. And no one's higher and no one's lower, that we're all part of this hoop and we impact each other. And so the original instruction is, how do we care for each other so that it's not only life-giving for us, but for future generations? So first, check your unexamined assumptions. What are you operating out of separateness or out of connection? And then there's a whole continuum. And it's not saying you're going to be one or the other, but check that out. So that's a big start. Just take control of that mind of yours. The other is to, in the belonging, is I start every day and end every day with a little ritual. Sometimes that ritual only lasts 5 minutes because of the time I have. Sometimes it's a full 45 minutes. But you can even do it in a breath, just gratitude. I love inviting people to just listen with the softest part of your ears and expanding heart. And as I say that right now, for the listeners, people who are watching, listen with the softest part of your expanding heart, even lower your eyes if you wish, and just bring into your heart all the beings you love. That's both human beings. Just keep bringing them. They can be alive. They could be on the other side of the camp. They may have deceased, the ancestors. Bring in the earth that you're on, bring in the oxygen, just keep bringing it in. You can bring it in through our whole talk, Leslie and I. This is a really good practice. And then you begin to realize, yeah, I still have to deal with the challenges, but I realize I'm not alone. And I can reach out and I can reach in for the wisdom and support that I have, in spite of the challenges that might be out there. So there's just a couple of things. And then there's more. When people say, how do I stay in life-giving relationship to each other, to other people and myself? That's when I get into the prophecies and the 4 sacred gifts.
One thing you said twice, and that is relationship with ourself and giving to ourself. It seems that around the world, I see people, either women, either not giving anything to themselves and giving everything away, or coming to a place where they are trying so hard to give to themselves while they give to others that they become rigid in the way that they do honor and help and support each other. What would you offer as a transition point, a softening point to this?
Yeah. Well, my grandmother, my indigenous grandmother, she would always have canela tea, cinnamon tea, and it would always be on a saucer. And what we would do is we would drink the tea and she'd fill it right away again. And she taught us very early, like if it spilled and somebody said, oh, I'd like some tea, hand him the saucer. And we used to think of it as like, well, this is just a game everybody plays. And I would hand one of my little sister and help her drink out of that. But what she was actually teaching us is if you keep your cup full, meaning you keep yourself centered, you're human beings, so you'll fall, but you just, again, refill it, refill yourself with rest, with nutrition, with, oxygen, with community. When you do that, then when someone needs something, you offer them there. And what I see in that rigidity you're talking about, and I do see it in business and I see it in communities too, whether it's overpower or something else, that's like, no, I'm not going to have enough, so I'm not going to give you. Or you're going to, instead of like, wait a minute, it's flowing always here, have from here, but always still taking care of yourself. So it's not either or, it's both and. And then you're amazed by the kind of relationship you have for yourself, because it always feels good when you can help somebody achieve their dream or just in that moment to be heard, let alone for that makes you feel really good, but then you're also helping them. So it's this thing between our ears, this mind. We don't want to get rid of it. It's not about just using your heart, although heart is the mind needs to listen to the heart.
Sure.
But nonetheless, let's have them go in tangent because we need them both. And so these imagery that you can just bring up, whatever that is, that's already coming to as you're listening to me and Leslie talk, those images already coming to you where you feel, oh, I know I am enough. I know I have enough. And just let that image come up. For me, it's my grandmother with the canela tea and spilling in the saucer and then always having some to offer others, but still having mine so that I can stay strong, so I can do and support myself and others rather than coming out of resentment or depletion and all the other things that isn't going to serve us well.
And isn't true anyway.
No, it's not true. No.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. One thing you say that I love, because it's so true, but I'd like to hear you elaborate on it, is that you can't Google wisdom.
Oh, that was a fun story when I got that meme. I was lecturing at Singularity University, which is a pretty elite university at Google, and invited me in. And I think I was a ringer because most people were, big time scientists and, all sorts of solving problems, but they brought me in with indigenous wisdom. And some of the people were like, I could see that they were like, when is she going to be done? And I was reading the correctly. Some were interested, but others are like, well, let's get back to the problem solving.
Right.
And then it came out of my mouth. I just looked at him and said, you can't Google wisdom. And everybody's mouth dropped. What is she doing saying that in Google? And then they all started laughing and then they paid attention. Right. And what I'm saying is that we keep looking for the answers outside of ourselves. I don't want to get rid of my ability to Google any more than anybody else information, but the wisdom, it's like asking somebody to pick up weights. Leslie, go do some sort of 45-pound weights for me so I can get stronger. It's not going to work that way. The wisdom is already in you. And it's a part of being silent. So the pause is really critical. So the wonderful news is that wisdom resides in you. And we know that through science. We know that through epigenetics. We know all of this. We know through heart math. We can We know that we can impact other people, other beings within 14 feet of us, actually change their heart rate variability.
Yes,
We
we
have
can.
lots of power.
Mhm.
So why not use that wisdom, that knowing, that trusting your guts, not just with the head that can become just, a gerbil running the little circle thing
Mhm.
in their pen. That doesn't make sense, just to slow it down a little bit and be able to do that. So the wisdom is always there. And that's the part when I talk about every person is sacred, every being is sacred. I'm not talking about in a religious sense. I'm talking about being part of this universal energy
Mhm.
that all of us are part of.
Mhm.
And you're meant to be here. Each one of us is.
Mhm.
So tapping inside, which is part of the work and the wonderful work that you do in writings, is like, look within. Yes, outside too. We're not alone again, so we can help each other.
Mhm.
But look within as well, because a lot of that you can sense out here. Is this calling to me? Is this really in my service to me and to
Mhm.
those that I touch in their lives?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you trust that, when you build that trust, you find it much easier with all the challenges. I have many in terms of doing the work I do, where people just look at me, what? And an indigenous, they didn't say indigenous, then they'd go, this native Mexican woman, you think you're going to do this? You're going to go into C-suites all over the world, or you're going to go speak in front of crowds of 10,000 people, or you're going to do this? And I come from a very poor neighborhood in the middle of Kansas City, Missouri, and not a background that had anybody who had degrees to do this. However, they did give me is the power to dream, understand
Mhm.
dreams are something, and also some of the original instruction of how we're part of, not separate from. And even with all that training, oh my gosh, there were times I had really low lows. So I don't mean to say to people, just do this, you have it all together. Part of you just even listening is discern for yourself what's calling and makes sense. Because what's wonderful in this hoop of life is their hoop within many hoops, within many hoops, many hoops. There
Mhm.
are many ways to be a life-giving force. But
Right.
I found that as many of the indigenous traditions around the world, some of the original ones that reconnect us to this, that's the belonging. That's the remembering that's happening. That's not, oh, you're bad and wrong and why did you mess up? No, let's just remember. And one of the ways to remember that you belong is just go outside by a tree. You
Mhm.
can even look at a picture of a tree, and if we had you hooked up, you could see your brain changing. You
Mhm.
start to remember, ah, there's a remembering that
Mhm.
you're part of, there's something that becomes soothing
Mhm.
in nature and contentment. And that's pretty worldwide. People have that sentiment. And that is part of belonging, as
Mhm.
well as then looking who's around you,
Mhm.
whether it's in the workplace or at home or in your community. Uh,
Mhm.
it's just, it's so wonderful to know. I'll just say every day, there were times in my youth when I was dealing with a lot of traumas
Mhm.
that I get up and I just go, oh, it's going to be horrible. Even though I've been taught every day is a new day. Look at the
Mhm.
sunrise. I always get up for the sunrise. And I'd get like that. And then I just had to start shifting back into, wait a minute, be quiet. What
Mhm.
is happening inside of you?
Mhm.
Look what's around you. Put your feet on the floor. All the things many things that you teach and others teach, and that I know that the listeners, as I'm talking,
Mhm.
as they continue to listen with the softest part of their ears and expanding heart, bringing in everything they love, then they get it. We know.
Mhm.
We just have to practice it, right?
That's right. One thing I'd like to touch on.
Uh-huh.
Um, you said being raised in the environment you were, they still gave you the permission to dream. They gave you the ability to dream. They gave you the freedom to dream. I'd like to touch on that because I know I'm not that unique, that there are lots of other people out there like me, particularly women. And I know the ability to dream was taken. That
Mm.
was not permissible. I know there are other people who are listeners who are in that space. They may not have admitted it even to themselves. But I decided to relearn. What would you say to let us say you have a room of young people or even grown women who have forgotten how to dream. How would you help them to walk themselves back to that?
One place, especially if they're really clear, I just can't do it. I'm not able to dream. Before you go to bed at night, before you go to bed, just ask quietly for anyone or anything that provides you safety and wisdom. It could be a grandmother who's passed. It could be a pet that's still alive. It could be whatever, just the sun, the moon, whatever. Just ask, please, ancestors, anyone, bring to me tonight a dream. Allow me to remember a dream. And just do that every night. And why I say do it at night is because then our brain gets out of the way, because we start to think it so much, like, oh, it's got to be hard. And it doesn't have to be hard. And most people find it does happen. But the other thing is, I would like to have people remember. So it doesn't matter what your age, whether I'm talking to kindergartners, or I'm talking to people in Oxford, or I'm talking to a bunch of business people in a corporation. When I ask them, please just look back in your childhood, up through your teens, and just, was there anything that you imagined? Can you remember anything you imagined and it actually came to be? And most people end up raising their hand and say yes. So you do know how. So come from that mentality. Oh, it just hasn't been happening as regularly, but I know how to do this. And you just begin doing the dreaming. And my family, what they did is every morning, they would ask, did you have any dreams last night? When I take people to Amazon, the first thing they do before the sun even rises, they gather, they drink tea. And from the youngest to the oldest, they share what they dreamt. And then based on what they all dreamt, that's what they do that day. Now, we're not going to probably do that in our state, but I'll tell you, pretty amazing things happen there. But what it does mean is that you can support each other's dream. So when I had the dream at age 3 and 4 and 5, that really got strong when I named it in kindergarten, my grandmother and mother had already been just affirming me in that. My dream was that I would grow up one day and I would be one of the stick people of different sizes and colors that I saw on the earth that were helping people they had their hands on each other's heart. They were connecting all over the world. And even in the most horrific kind of circumstances as a child growing up in teen, I never forgot that dream and I helped support it. So I do know that people say, stop daydreaming, or you're just dreaming, or that's just, la, come back to reality. But you think about the inventions most inventors, they dreamt it. Most of them dreamt it. And if you think about yourself, that's the same thing.
Yes. And I know you know this, and maybe some of our listeners do, but let's remind them anyway that it is scientifically known and documented that everything must exist in energy, in the imagination first, whether it is a business card or a great project. Everything exists pre-physical before it is physical.
Yeah, so then we have choice. And that's the wonderful thing. We can do what's convenient. Oh yeah, I imagine that I want that, but then we don't do any steps. Or we do some consistent action. And the action may not always be the right action, but oh, okay, now I know that wasn't the right step. Let me try this. Let me try this. And then lo and behold, it's not even feeling almost like you are in action, but things start coming to you.
That's right.
And it's like, and I know people understand that when it just comes and people will say, oh, well, you're just really privileged and all of that. Well, I am really grateful for everything I have. And it hasn't always been that way. And there are moments that I get I need to sob because of the horrific hurt that's happening. And then I finish crying these tears so that then I can then move forward, be present, and be able to help create the world that I want, that is life-giving versus painful and harmful and hurting.
That's beautiful. Painful, harmful, hurting. You speak about divisive times require decisive action. And we are in some very hurtful times right now for many, many.
Yes, indeed we are. And so that's where so many people who contact me say, well, what am I supposed to do? Well, how do I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are really good questions.
Mm-hmm.
But we always have to, it's inside out and outside in. It's not one way. Usually it's trying to fix something out here or bring it. So it's always both are happening. And so I utilize indigenous perspective. I have lots of different science I use too, because it's a lot of it matches up. But with indigenous, there is this understanding that we are still connected to everything and that we can listen and hear. And one of the stories, Eagle Hoop prophecy that came about in the 90s, said that we're going to be entering a wintertime like no other. The two-legged human beings have never witnessed something how long, and that we needed to remember how to create harmony and balance. And to do that, Spirit gave us 4 gifts. And so, and I heard these gifts back in the 90s, I began integrating them. But first I was like, oh, how's this going to work? It's not going to be enough. But then it was like, wait a minute. So I offer these 4 gifts to everyone who's listening. And again, since you already have listening with your softest part of your ears and expanding heart, I want you to imagine each of these gifts already inside of you, but you're going to actually anchor it by putting your hands on your heart if you wish. Okay. So the first gift that they put for all humankind to remember how to create harmony and balance in yourself and with all our other relations is the gift of the power to forgive the unforgivable. Put that gift, as I put my hands on my heart, in the ceremonial part of your heart and breathe it in. The gift of the power to forgive the unforgivable. And as you do that, you might be feeling, oh, yes, I've forgiven some things, or I don't know if I could forgive that. Whatever is coming up, no, that's already in there, that you have the capacity, the fact that it's coming up for you to continue to use this wonderful gift. You take a breath and an exhale. And the second gift they put in the hoop for all humankind is the gift of the power of healing. Oh, it's a wonderful gift to heal from the small things and big things every day. So put that gift into the ceremonial part of your heart and anchor it with your hands on your heart. And as you do, maybe you're aware of your body. Just start there, of what feels whole and strong, and what might not quite feel right. Maybe pay attention to that. It's really important, especially as women. Sometimes we'll take care of everyone else and not pay attention. Pay attention to that. And then you may be drawn to what needs healing in yourself or in supporting what needs to be healing in the world, and you're a part of that. Okay, take a breath. And the third gift they put in there for all of us is the gift of the power of unity. And I love that. It always makes me smile. The gift of the power of unity, put their hands on your heart, right in the ceremonial part. And as you do that, you're remembering, am I in unity with my mind, my heart, my spirit, my full body, my presence? Am I in alignment? And then also, who am I in community and unity with? My family, my biological family, my larger community, my workplace, on and on and on in the world. And then take a deep breath. And the fourth and final gift they put in there to help us create harmony and balance again is the gift of the power of hope. Hope in action. That's some of the dream that Leslie was talking about.
Yes.
That imagining it's an energy source. And put that, acknowledging by anchoring it with your hands on your heart, the gift of the power of hope in action. What an energy source, a remembering already of what you hope for and has come to be. And perhaps some of you may be saying, well, I forgot what I'm not being hopeful. I'm not dreaming. And we gave you some examples of how you can start doing that, but it's already in you. This is your gift. This is part of your sacredness. So with that, just take another inhalation and exhalation and use these 4 gifts. And I would tell you, I have, and for tens of thousands of people that I've worked with and spoken to, they, wherever they are in the world, they generally write these gifts down and then they go, "Oh, okay." And the key is to use them over and over and integrate them in your life. Power to forgive the unforgivable, the power of healing, the power of unity, and the power of hope in action. And I will say to you, as Spirit said to the 27 elders from around the world who came together to receive this blessing, do this, and the promise is you will remember how to be in right relationship with yourself, with other people, with nature, with all the beings, Earth herself.
Beautiful. And for those, I can always hear different things that my listeners are saying, even though we're recording this in advance. I can hear it. It's the most fascinating thing. And I heard quite a few saying, I don't have time.
Oh,
Those who don't have time to be in unity, even with themselves. What would you offer to them, Anita?
yes. First of all, might look up time a little bit. At least now the current scientists moved it beyond Einstein now. Time is circular. It's not how we think of it linearly. And you probably had days just like me where it's just like, how did I get all that done and still rest?
Yes.
It doesn't fit the human
No.
arrogance of it. So part of it is throwing out part of that, knowing we have responsibilities and we have things we got to get done. However, it's just knowing that it is possible to do all this. And it doesn't take a lot of time. At breakfast, when my kids were home growing up, I would say to them, "Oh, what a great day to heal. What a good day to heal." And my sons would go, "I don't think any other moms ever say that." I think you've been saying that. I'm inviting it. It doesn't mean now I have to check it off and that. It just means be present to it. Do I want to keep holding on to this thing that I'm angry about, or do I want to forgive and let it go? Not forgetting, I won't forget. And it doesn't mean I won't use some energy to change, to create new systems and structures so that kind of hurt doesn't happen again. But it means I'm not wasting my energy on that.
Right.
And science knows we are energy, as you said. So all of these things, it's about you, and you're worth it. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. What happens when it becomes a part of you, like breathing, like hold your breath. You can't hold it for very long. I don't want you to turn blue. So keep breathing, but just like that, it will become just part of who you are.
Yes.
And then you get the challenges and get knocked to your knees and get back up because you remember, oh, yes, I have others. I'm in unity. I also have this vision that's pulling me. When the pain pushes, the vision can pull. I also forgive because it's not even about the other, really, it's about myself. Do I want to use my energy that way when I can use my energy in a much more life-giving way than holding resentment or retaliation? It really takes much more time to resist what is life-giving, which is the wisdom that's already in you. And I think that's why so many people now more and more are being drawn to living ancient wisdom. And indigenous wisdom is one of those. There's living, not just ancient and gone. It's in us. It's around us. The scientists are finally naming it too, but they're coming and studying and learning from us. So it's just really important. You are worth it. And please, and there's lots of ways to do it. If I can, Leslie, I know you have your pattern, but it came through to me. Please, if you go to four-sacred-gifts.com, FOUR sacredgifts.com, I know Leslie will have it there. But some of you, it's not like we learn in different ways. There's a song there that's based on the 4 sacred gifts. Just listen to that song. I get emails from people from South Africa, Costa Rica, Netherlands. They're going, I heard your song and I really listened to it.
Yes.
So learn in different ways. And that's not hard. Oh, it's hard. I got to go listen to a song that takes 6 minutes. So you're worth it. You're worth it. And all the people that you love and the beings around you are worth it too.
And absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to throw just one little piece in there, if I may, Anita. Write the 4 blessings on your whiteboard. I know you have a whiteboard.
I do.
I know every one of you out there has a whiteboard. We all have whiteboards.
Words.
What would we do without our white? Just write them down. You'll see those, even if you do nothing but just notice them and read them every day. It'll start sinking in to that prefrontal cortex. And
Yes.
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 And you'll find yourself spontaneously starting to do that, even before you've noticed. That's my 2 cents worth. Now,
That's
hear
great.
the song.
Yes, the song is wonderful, but that is a way of keeping the images. Again, our brain doesn't work from bullet points and
No.
long paragraphs. It works from images. And so you just see that image and you have that word forgiveness, and it'll bring up an image in your mind. You see healing, it'll bring up an image in your mind. You see unity, it'll bring up an image. Hope in action, it'll bring up an image.
That's
So
right.
thank you for doing that. Yes, because we want this to be really practical for you. That's the point.
That's
We
the point.
need everybody in this hoop of life.
Mhm.
There's a reason that each one of us is here. And
Mhm.
so I'm just delighted that you're taking the time to watch Leslie, listen to her, and the amazing women that she brings here, because we all know that we need each other. It's so important because not only for now, but I love my children and my children's children and other species' children. So for generations out, now matters to what will come later.
Yes.
So yes, I thank you for everything that you are already being and doing in the world. And I just am going to keep imaging all of us tapping into our wisdom and also listening with the softest part of the ear and expanding heart. So when we hear other wisdom coming from our relatives, we know whether that is true for us to take in and to be part of.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Anita. That is just beautiful. Now, as we've already discovered, you and I can chat on and on and on, but my time's up here.
Yes.
What a delightful way to start the week, this conversation with you, and to be able to record it, to be able to share with listeners. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you all for tuning in again. This was a magical experience, not in some woo-woo way, but in a way of just making our eyes open a little wider, letting our ears open a little bit more fully, letting us become aware of more of ourselves. And I hope that you take that with you through your day. Now, who do you know? What woman do you know who would really be blessed by hearing what Anita shared today? When you go to YouTube to like and subscribe, share with her or them. Share the blessing. It's been my experience that nothing blesses me as much as sharing a blessing. Share the blessing forward. And comment. As I always tell you, you do not have to agree with a thing I say, with anything any guest says. But we would truly welcome you to the conversation. So leave a comment. And I'm going to do for you like I always do for you. All of Dr. Sanchez's contact information, her book links, everything that she'll let me post will be posted on the website so that you can access more of her wisdom. And thank you again for joining us today. And as you go through the rest of the day, even the week, please remember, you are stronger and wiser than you know.